Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Bryn and I'm the Game Survivor, and this video is all about Battlefield 4 Premium. Specifically, is it worth getting? Now first of all, I'm going to run through all the features of Battlefield 4 Premium, so if you already know what those are, there's a link in the description to the timecode where I start actually discussing whether or not it's worth it. Now, Battlefield 4 Premium retails at 60 Australian dollars, 60 US dollars, and 40 quid if you live in the UK. It's a little bit cheaper if you don't already own Battlefield 4. You can get it in a bundle with Battlefield 4 for $140. $60, 40 quid is a fair bit of money. I totally get that, especially if you're a kid. I used to be one of those. I didn't have a job, and $60 was a fair bit of money for me. You know, I had to save up quite a bit to buy a new game, and Battlefield 4 Premium is, to put it into context, $60 while Titanfall is $80. I mean, $20 more and you've got a completely different game. You've got a new game with a new multiplayer experience, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's a big deal. That's something to consider, especially if you're not a super hardcore Battlefield player. If you don't play a huge amount, if you just jump on every now and then with your friends, perhaps consider just getting one or two of the expansions individually. You know, teaming up with your friends, going, "Oh yeah, cool! This expansion looks awesome. Let's both get this. Let's all get this," and play that with your friends. Because, you know, there's a chance that you may not unlock all of the new weapons, all of the new gadgets, etc. But you're probably still going to enjoy the maps a lot, which means, you know, that's probably why I would recommend perhaps just thinking about getting some of the expansions individually. But if you are a super hardcore Battlefield player, you know, if you play 30 hours a week, you know, I don't know how much Battlefield you guys play, but if you are a super hardcore Battlefield player, there's still some things that you need to consider if you want to buy Premium but haven't already, and I'm going to break those down for you in this video. Now, what do you actually get for your $60? Well, the most obvious is you get the 5 expansions. You get China Rising, Second Assault, and Naval Strike, which are already out. You also get Dragon's Teeth and Final Stand, and you get early access to those 2 expansions as well, because they're not out yet. I believe if you're an Xbox player, you also get 2 weeks on top of that early access. You're actually getting a month early access. And that jumping into the game a bit early is kind of a big deal. I mean, it allows you to grind out your unlocks a bit earlier. It means that when everyone else, when the public join the expansion, it means you've already got a lot of your unlocks, and you can, you know, display your prowess with your new gadgets and new guns and stuff, which is pretty cool. That's something to consider. You also get 12 new battle packs right off the bat, which is good. It eliminates some of the grinding that you have to do. There's some double XP weekends and exclusive premium events, which is kind of cool. You get exclusive knives, weapons assignments, such as Phantom Prospect assignments that we've been hearing about a lot recently. I believe the Phantom Trainee assignment was recently cracked. They had to find a password for that, so they've solved that recently, which is cool. But honestly, most of the assignments in Battlefield 4 Premium are just to unlock the new weapons and gadgets that you get with each expansion pack. But you also get some pretty cool new customization features. Like, you get new camos, you get, I believe, some kind of, at least in Battlefield 3, it was like a carbon fiber look to your profile, which, you know, if you're into that kind of thing, by all means, you know, that's a factor. Go for it. You also get priority positions in queues, which is less of a big deal for me because I live in Australia, but for you guys who live in the UK, in Europe, in America, where the servers fill up a bit more than they do in Australia, that's definitely a factor that you're going to have to consider. It essentially cuts down your waiting time by allowing you to skip the queue a little bit in full servers. Now, this point that I'm about to touch on is a little bit less relevant now because most people who were planning to get next-gen consoles already have them. But if you don't have a next-gen console, if you've still got a PS3 or an Xbox 360 and you play Battlefield 4 and you're planning to get a next-gen console, this is something to consider. It means that you can buy Battlefield 4 Premium now, you can start grinding out your unlocks, and then once you get your next-gen console, you can actually transfer your Battlefield 4 Premium to your next-gen console, which means you get to keep all your unlocks and stuff, which is, you know, that's kind of cool. That's something to consider. Again, it's a little redundant now for those of you who already have next-gen consoles, but if you don't, it's something to consider. Now, that's a massive list of stuff that you get in Battlefield 4 Premium, but is it actually worth it? Well, we're going to have to go a little bit deeper to decide whether it is. So we're going to have a closer look at the expansions and what you actually get in them, since the expansions are the main reason most people get Premium. It's the main reason I bought Battlefield 3 Premium. It's probably one of the main reasons that you're looking at getting Battlefield 4 Premium. Now at this point some of you guys might be panicking because you heard me say Battlefield 3 Premium. Yes, that's correct. I don't own Battlefield 4 Premium, but before you all quickly press dislike and, spam the comments with, oh, you don't know anything about Battlefield 4 Premium. Yes, take my opinion here with a grain of salt, but I like to think that because I don't own Battlefield 4 Premium, I can give a bit more of an objective view on the matter and help you guys out a little bit more, or in a little bit of a different way than a lot of the other videos out there on YouTube on this topic. Because, they might be a little bit biased. Don't hate, guys, just, I'm telling it like it is. But if I'm honest, that probably didn't really answer your question all that well. Why don't I own Premium when I'm posting a video about it, when I've got a YouTube channel that posts videos on Battlefield 4? The reason actually lies in the expansion packs themselves, which are sort of the main draw cards that people look to when they're looking at buying Battlefield 4 Premium. Now I'm going to run through the features of Naval Strike, because that's, at the time of recording, the most recent expansion pack to come out. So, what do you get in Naval Strike? You get 5 new guns, you get an assault weapon, an engineer weapon, a support weapon, a recon weapon, and an all-kit pistol. You also get 2 new gadgets. You get a new grenade launcher, that's the M320, 3GL, and the new AA mine for the engineer class. You also get 4 new knives, and a bunch of new assignments to unlock those new knives, weapons, and gadgets. To put that into context, there are a total of 103 weapons in Battlefield 4. That includes your sidearms, but doesn't include battle pickups such as the USAS frag rounds, etc. Now, to use Titanfall as another point of comparison, that game has considerably fewer weapons, but all of the weapons feel extremely unique and well balanced in comparison to each other. I actually recently watched a video of someone raving about the incredible killing abilities of the carbine, which is actually the starting pilot weapon that you get at the very beginning of the game when you first start playing. But not many people tend to use, I don't know many people who use the AK-12, which is the starting assault weapon. The reason for that is that Battlefield 4, at least in my opinion, take this with a grain of salt, places far too much emphasis on creating more stuff. And that was part of the problem at launch, with the bugginess, and the continued problem with Battlefield 4 Premium, in my opinion. Now, DICE had a massive task on their hands when they went into creating Battlefield 4. Battlefield 3 was an incredible game. There'd been an incredible amount of stuff that had been added to the game through all the expansion packs, and it would be kind of a little bit disappointing to fans if they bought all the expansion packs of Battlefield 3, they bought Premium, that had all this cool stuff such as the AC-130, all the dirt bikes, all those cool new vehicles, all those cool new weapons, and then suddenly they were gone in Battlefield 4. Like, where are they? DICE has gotten rid of them, they've nerfed the game. So they had a massive task on their hands in bringing all this stuff across from Battlefield 3 into Battlefield 4. Obviously they didn't do it with everything, but they did it with a lot of stuff. And not many people, you don't hear many people raving about the AC-130. A lot of people say that, it's incredibly unbalanced in Caspian Border, for instance. This is just one example of one of the many, many things in Battlefield 4 that were just sort of thrown in there without much time put into balancing them. Now, this isn't necessarily DICE's fault. I know their hearts were in the right places when they said, we want to bring our fans all this cool content. I want to steer away from blaming EA at this point because I know everyone shames EA, but DICE were kind of rushed, and this means that they didn't get as much time to balance all the new content as they probably should have had, which has led to a lot of these balance problems with a lot of guns and a lot of vehicles. It's also led to DICE sort of going the safe road and not making many guns very different from each other. I'm going to use the AK-5C and the ACWR as a point of comparison here. The AK-5C and the ACWR are extremely similar weapons. I use both guns, I enjoy using both guns, and the reason I enjoy using both guns is because they're extremely similar. There aren't very many differences between them. Now, again, I'm going to reference Titanfall here. All of the guns feel, look, handle, play very differently. That's because there's considerably less of them, and because the developers had a lot more time to balance those smaller pool of guns instead of trying to herd cats, essentially, and balance a whole multitude of weapons to make sure they were they all played nicely. They weren't overpowered. So DICE has gone the safer route here by making all the guns very similar so that people can't complain that, oh, you know, the AK-5C is completely overpowered because it's got so much less recoil than the ACWR. You know, that's just an example that I'm making up. But DICE deliberately avoided that because they didn't have time to balance the weapons properly. Now, how does this relate to whether or not Battlefield Premium's worth it? Well, all the expansions add a whole heap more stuff into the game. That list that I gave you before, for the Naval Strike expansion, you know, that's a whole heap new weapons that DICE has to balance. They have to make sure that they play nicely. They have to make sure that they're not overpowered. But essentially what happens is that they all start becoming the same again. I mean, and this is exactly the same for the gadgets. I've never seen anyone use the AA mines, ever. The reason for that is they're not very useful. DICE again went the safer road by making them not very powerful because they didn't want people complaining about how OP they were, how, you know, the attack choppers already sucks, you know, the AA is already so overpowered. What they should have done is nerfed the mobile AA, made the AA mines a little bit more powerful, and that would have given a little bit more versatility to the engineer class. It would have given people a little bit a more interesting way to take down aircraft rather than just sitting at spawn, camping with their mobile AA and shooting helicopters as they take off. Now, the big list of stuff, again, that I read off before that's in Naval Strike, that may seem incredibly appealing. You're getting a bunch of new weapons, that's awesome. But I really appeal to you to look at the greater picture of Battlefield as a whole. Bringing a bunch of new weapons and gadgets that aren't bringing anything to the game wrecks the game. It doesn't make it any more fun. DICE needs to spend more effort creating fewer expansions, fewer weapons, really polishing the game. And I know this has been, you know, this topic's been broached so many times, but I don't think it's been broached in quite this way. It's so important that DICE puts more effort into the weapons and gadgets in the game already before they bring more in. If you really do care about Battlefield and you care about the series, I urge you not to buy Battlefield 4 Premium, because that's just supporting the developers bringing guns and gadgets into the game that the game simply doesn't need. It's already fully bloated and not very well balanced. All the guns are very samey. All the gadgets, many of the gadgets, are fairly useless, if I'm perfectly honest. Again, I haven't played Premium. Please take this with a grain of salt. But I've watched a lot of gameplay videos and I've heard from a lot of commentators saying that a lot of the gadgets and weapons are fairly useless. So I do know what I'm talking about here, guys. Again, if you're skeptical here, think about Titanfall. If you've played it, remember how awesome the guns feel in that game. Remember how nicely they play. Remember how unique each one of them is. Then think about Battlefield. All the guns are very samey. Now that little rant's over, I will actually give you my genuine opinion as to whether Battlefield 4 Premium is worth it for the expansions, for you know, your value for money. Disregarding all of that, yes, I do believe it's worth it. I believe that it's good value for money because you're getting a bunch of new weapons, you're getting a bunch of new maps. The maps are fantastic. I commend DICE for doing an incredible job with their map design, especially in Battlefield 4. They've really lifted their game since Battlefield 3. But please take heed of what I was talking about before. I think it's very important that gamers consider their purchases of expansion packs and things, and whether or not that's good for the longevity of the game, whether it's good for the longevity of the series, and whether, you know, that's sending the developers the right message. So that's all for today's video, guys. I'm sorry that turned into a little bit of a rant, but if you want to get more Battlefield news, if you want to see some Battlefield 4 gameplay, hit subscribe. If you agreed with what I was saying, even if you didn't agree, but you support my mentality here, hit like. If you disagree, please comment. I want to know why you guys disagree. I want to know why you guys will buy Premium despite everything that I just said. So until next time, guys, stay groovy.